Once again, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. As always, I am Zak, the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News. We've got a lot of news to talk about today. First of all, we're going to be discussing a pro-China group that is partnering with the co-founder of BLM. It's a scary proposition. Then we've got a whole slew of new posts from our favorite Anon. Then we have excellent news coming out from the Senate Homeland Security Committee. A list of Obama officials has been approved for subpoena. That includes Stefan Halper, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and a whole lot more. Then we're going to be talking about the price of the riots taking place in our country right now. We are seeing the most widespread and costliest amount of man-made damage to American property in history. This might put insurance companies out of business. And then finally, Joe Biden has endorsed a Michigan Democrat who blogged about 4-year-old girls wearing thong underwear. This is exactly what these people are all about. All right, guys, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. Turmeric has a long list of health benefits, with experts holding it in especially high regard for its fountain of youth-like qualities. Ancient cultures in China, Hawaii, and other parts of the world praised it for its ability to provide support for improved skin, boosted energy levels, and improved mental clarity. Consuming turmeric is as essential as it gets to revitalizing how you look and feel. However, turmeric by itself and its key compound, curcumin, has extremely low absorption in the body, and that's why Ageless Body was created. Ageless Body combines patented and recently discovered natural enhancement technologies along with several other powerhouse ingredients to provide a premier healthy aging and cellular energy boost while simultaneously increasing absorption by 4,600%. Ageless Body powerfully supports young-looking skin, youthful energy, a youthful body, and a bright brain. Once you start taking this amazing pill, you'll enjoy powerful support for younger-looking skin, peak energy levels, mental focus, healthy eyes, and so much more. Plus, it's non-GMO, contains no artificial ingredients, and it's independently lab tested to ensure potency and purity. Get your own bottle for 51% off plus free shipping by going to agewithredpill.com or click the link in the description or pinned comment below. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today, we're going to be talking about how the BLM co-founder and a pro-communist China group are beginning to partner up. Now, just imagine for me that far-right demonstrators were laying siege to American cities for months at a time, and they were led by activists explicitly calling for an ethno-state, and that one of their groups was founded by an outfit involved with Vladimir Putin's Russia. If that were true, that would lead the news every day and there would be congressional hearings, right? Well, rightfully so. The threat of foreign interference in our domestic affairs is a very serious matter, whether the suspects are rivals such as Russia or friendlies such as Mexico. This is especially the case if a foreign power were abetting unrest that aims to topple our constitutional order. Well, the scenario described right there is exactly what's happening, although it's not Russia or the far right, but it's China, and it's the leftist disturbances upending America and seeking to transform it. Yet there has been not a peep from the media or Congress about China's support for those riots. Now, you can go to the website for the Black Futures Lab. It's a venture of Black Lives Matter founder Alicia Garza. If you click on the donate button, it will ask you to send money to an obscure organization. It's called the Chinese Progressive Association, and it explains that Black Futures Lab is a fiscally sponsored project of the Chinese Progressive Organization. Well, what is the CPA anyway? It was founded in 1972 during the Marxist-oriented Asia-American movement. They are a leftist, pro-People's Republic of China organization, and they are promoting awareness of mainland China's revolutionary thought and workers' rights. And they are dedicated to self-determination, community control, and serving the people. All sounds pretty good. Well, so they say. They are very active in Boston, and that's important because last year they sponsored the raising of the PRC's flag over the Boston City Hall. The event itself was organized by the Chinese consulate. They frequently draw praise from the CCP mouthpiece China Daily, which praised the CPA recently for taking part in the BLM protests in Boston. So let's get this straight. The founders of BLM, and therefore the organization itself, are anti-capitalists. The CCP are obviously as well, and the goal of the CPA is to promote an alternative to Western capitalism, and it happens to be an extension of the Chinese Communist Party. Well, China is using their diplomatic and NGO extensions within the United States to foment revolution and unrest, and the goal of BLM is to fundamentally change the organizational structure of our country. Sure, that worked out pretty good for the people in China under Mao Zedong's revolution. 45 million of them lost their lives. What would happen in this country if they did it again? Well, justice and reform are one thing, but organized revolution through insurgent warfare tactics is another entirely. We've seen the results thus far in many major Democrat-controlled cities. We've seen the destruction of the People's Revolution we're embroiled in at this very moment. When radical leftist groups within our own borders are working with the most brutal and totalitarian regime the world has ever known, it's time to do something about it. For 4 years, Democrats in Washington have done sleight of hand to distract America with this bogus Russia investigation, time and again. While the entire time, the real enemy isn't sitting at the gates. They're already inside the castle. Now let's take a look at the new posts. Well, we've had quite a few already today. First of all, beginning with 4715, we have another proof infographic which details one of the firefighters that were identified the other day. We have a couple of Instagram profiles. I believe that they lead to both of these gentlemen right here. We also have him shown on scene speaking with police, and we have a close-up of his license plate, so we can clearly identify who he is. Now, our favorite anon tags FBI Portland. Just want to give them a little tip that here, this is the person who you need to be looking for. Then we move on to what is apparently a conversation with one of these insurgents, and most likely a patriot, because at the end of the conversation, they are warned about what's going to happen to them if they continue on. Now, we move on next to a tweet from Direct Support PDX. This is one of those revolutionary groups. PDX would be in Portland, and it states, "Call for direct action after the news today. Stay safe, stay dangerous," with several interesting hashtags, including abolish ICE and hashtag BLM. There is a picture that they have made which says abolish ICE, and they are calling for a direct action on the 15th from 8 to 9 p.m. That was last night. Next, we have an Instagram post combined with an infographic, and it actually appears to be one of those men in that proof earlier, and that was the same individual that was in the conversation with the Patriot. It shows them with a truck full of water, supplies, and gasoline or kerosene cans. And then our friend Hive made the boards, and it says, well, looks like this dude has his truck bed loaded up to set fires, and he includes the Instagram post. Now, an anon who posted it says, looks like this Banks dude has his truck filled to set fires too. And moving on to the next post, we have a post from an anon who says, be water, spread fire. They are using the cover of sharing water and bringing fire to first responders as cover to move around spreading fire. This is how they're getting into these areas and setting these fires themselves. Then we move on to post 4720, and we have a Twitter status. Let's take a look. And this is a tweet from Bodie Crane. Now, this is a very important announcement. The DOD has just announced that Russia and China have weaponized their space satellites with directed energy weapons. That's right, you've heard me correctly. Directed energy weapons are real, and Russia and China, our two greatest threats here on the face of the earth, have loaded them up onto their satellites. Now, this is extremely important when you think back to the last couple of years and the various reports that we've had that DEWS were responsible for starting many of the fires in California and other other places on the West Coast. Now, unfortunately, I can't play this video for you. For some reason, my audio capture has just mysteriously stopped working, but I will include the link down below in the pinned comment so you can go ahead and see it. Essentially, it is a short announcement just letting us know that directed energy weapons are real and China and Russia have definitely put them up into space. Now, this is extremely interesting considering the fact that President Trump, very quickly after coming into office, announced the creation of the Space Force. This tells me that we've had this information for quite some time, and the Space Force is even more relevant now than it was when it was announced. So please definitely check that out and show Bodhi some love, give him a follow. Next, we have a link to a Tucker Carlson report talking about the true nature of the beer bug. Now, this segment is 6 minutes and 30 seconds long, so I'm not going to play it, but I think that it is a must-watch for anyone out there who's interested in getting the truth. There is no doubt that this is going to be censored, and you can see that Tucker's video is already being censored as well. Go ahead and check it out. It is well worth the 6 minutes. Next, post 4722. Add it all up. Beer bug, riots organized by Antifa, fires, the why. And that YouTube link links to another Tucker Carlson report talking about color revolution, something we've talked about many times on this channel. Make no mistake, they will not concede on election night. Make no mistake, they will contest this legally in battleground states. Make no mistake, they will project doubt in the election results. Make no mistake, they will organize massive riots and attempt Anarchy 99 design. Playbook known. This is exactly what's going to happen, guys, and I think we all are well aware of it. Tomorrow is the start for that siege that has been planned on the White House to go from September 17th all the way up until November 3rd. 50 days of siege on the White House. I don't think there's any reason to think that November 3rd will be the last day. I think that they are going to continue building their numbers. This is going to continue to be organized with the help of China, and it will continue on until something is done. President Trump is going to win on November 3rd, but the Democrats and all of their mouthpieces are going to do everything they can to put doubt in the minds of American voters. We need to be as proactive as possible, and our fight is not going to end anytime soon. Now, moving on to post 4723, we have a tweet from Josh Kaplan, the Wall Street Journal, reporting that AG Barr tells prosecutors to consider charging violent protesters with sedition. I think that this is an absolute must. It is clearly the truth of what's happening. We must charge these people with appropriate measures. Now, I'm immediately reminded about those rioters in Pittsburgh that were recently held on $1 million bail. We need to start there, and we need to move immediately into treason and sedition charges. We need to call this what it is. Now, our favorite Anon says, the media is complicit. Fact checkers created to reinforce the same narrative. Propaganda they themselves created. Social media censor, terminate, silence anti-narrative accounts like us. Echo. System of control. Mission, keep the public controlled and in the dark. Information warfare. This is 21st century warfare techniques, and we are watching it play out right now in front of us. This is the most important part right here. Because this is information warfare, this is why people like you and I are so important in this fight. We have to be a counterbalance to this mainstream media propaganda narrative. We have to make sure that the truth gets out. And any chance that you get to actually tell people the truth of what's happening, I think that we need to go ahead and start doing it if you're not already. Now, finally, moving on to post 4724, why did it take an outsider to finally deliver the start of peace in the Middle East? Why did it take an outsider to finally deliver the start of peace in the Middle East? News coverage, front page, missile strikes, attempt to terminate. Peace doesn't sell. War, fear does. Money. Evil and corruption at the highest levels. Now, this is going back to something we talked about recently here on the channel. There is only one business that matters to these war hawks and to these globalists, and that is the business of war. The business of war sells a lot of products. You have bullets, you have mortars, you have uniforms, you have planes and tanks and missiles and everything else that you can possibly imagine. The reason we have never had peace in the Middle East until this point is because no one was willing to stand up to the military-industrial complex. President Trump has done it, and I do believe that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. But this is going to be something that inflames the tensions even more. We have the missiles that were sent towards Israel very recently. We have the missiles sent to the American embassy in Iraq. These people are going to be very, very upset. This is evil of the highest order. They don't care about our lives. They don't care about our civilization. They don't care about the future. They think that people will continue to breed, and they will continue to die, and they will continue to fight because they tell us to. It's time for the dawning of a new era here on planet Earth. The Great Awakening is about so much more than just getting the truth out about these evil people in our government. This is a global movement, and right here, President Trump is really bringing it home. And while I was tinkering around with my computer, there are several additional posts. So first, 4725, we have a tweet from Catherine Herridge, and it includes an opinion from the court. They found violations of the government's duty of candor in all 4 applications. Now, the release itself is right here from intel.gov. Release of court opinion related to the temporary retention, use, and disclosure of unlawful FISA collection. It is a lengthy article right there, but it continues on with post 3788, where our favorite Anon previously told us all surveillance regarding POTUS hops will be concluded that there was insufficient predication to establish probable cause. For anyone out there asking for predictions of things that would come true, here we go. We have another one. And then moving on to post 4726, we have a status from the Department of Defense, and then an article from military.com, and it says MilSat applications. Let's take a look at the two. And the first tweet right here from the DOD is that full release from the DOD and Secretary Mark Esper talking about the fact that we have directed energy weapons in the sky. I'm immediately reminded of a Dutch Sense video the other day where he found a heat signature in some satellite footage that he was looking at, and it looked like a beam. Are the fires in California right now not only being started by people on the ground, but also by these satellite-directed energy weapons? I think the answer is more than likely yes. And then the article from military.com, Air Force harnessing the power of directed energy. This is from March of 2019, and it is about the use of directed energy weapons by the United States military itself. And it goes into a lengthy explanation of how it works and how they are being used. Next, we're going back to Epstein territory. We've got an article about Les Wexner and Epstein, and it says Victoria's Secret reportedly continued to work with a modeling agency after it was accused of supplying underage girls to Jeffrey Epstein. And then we have a post which contains that infamous picture of Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Virginia Giuffre. Then there is an image of Prince Andrew with another unnamed young woman. Then we have that famous picture that was recently released of Bill Clinton receiving a massage from one of Epstein's massage girls. Then finally, we have a picture of a Disney clock pointing at 2 o'clock, and this obviously reminds us of the fact that many people have been arrested who were under the employ of Disney for crimes against children, and there have been many instances of people being convicted of these crimes and then being rehired by Disney. I think our favorite Anon is clearly tying together the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein and his cohorts and Disney itself. Now, Disney is one of the most hardest hit companies during the midst of this pandemic. They've been unable to release any movies. They have a Shanghai Disney location, and their parks here in America have essentially remained closed. I've heard that they are spending more money each day keeping them open than they are receiving in ticket sales or in merchandise purchases. So I think maybe Disney might be who's going to be exposed next. Now, speaking about those abuses by the government, the Senate Homeland Security Committee has finally authorized subpoenas for testimony from Obama officials as their investigation into the Russia probe begins to come to a close. Now, that includes John Brennan, James Comey, James Clapper, Stefan Halper, and many others. Now, earlier today, they voted to authorize the subpoenas for Clowns in America Director John Brennan, former National Director of Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, and these other Obama officials as their broad review into the investigation continues. They held a business meeting to authorize Committee Chairman Ron Johnson to issue notices for taking depositions, subpoenas for records, and subpoenas for testimony to individuals relating to the panel's Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Now, they voted 8-6 to authorize those subpoenas. You can bet that there are more than a few people who are not very happy that they finally got the vote they needed. And they also authorized subpoenas for Cindy Blumenthal, former Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, former FBI counsel Lisa Page, former FBI agent Joe Pienka, former Ambassador to the United Nations Samantha Power, former FBI Director of Counterintelligence Bill Priestap, former White House National Security Advisor Susan Rice, former FBI agent Peter Strzok, former FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith, who of course pled guilty to making false statements and falsifying evidence, and they have also further authorized subpoenas for the production of all records related to the FBI's original Russia investigation and the DOJ's Inspector General probe, as well as the process of unmasking for James Baker, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, DOJ official Bruce Orr, FBI case agent Stephen Summa, former U.S. Ambassador to Russia John Teft, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tishina Gar, and Stefan Halper. Now, they have been waiting a long time to get these people before them to ask the questions that they need, and now that we have them coming to testify before a Republican Senate committee, I'm really hoping that they ask the right questions. Please, Senator Johnson, do not just make this a show trial. Get the information that we need, because everyone here in America deserves closure on this issue. Well, the numbers are in, and these new riots are officially the most costly man-made damage to American property in history. Just think about it. If you were a foreign government that wanted to do damage to a foreign adversary, and you didn't want to invade with your shock troops, well, the best thing to do would be to get the people to do the damage themselves. Destroy the infrastructure, bankrupt the country, shut it down with a beer bug, and then there you go. Everything is in place for a complete radical left takeover. Now, Property Claim Services is a company that tracks insurance claims filed due to the riots, and they found that the left-wing riots that occurred between May 26th and June 8th of this year could reach $2 billion in insurance claims. That's only May through June. That's only May 26th through June 8th. Now, obviously, because the riots have extended far beyond June 8th, the damage has yet to be fully tallied, but this is a staggering number. Based on that $2 billion figure, this is the most costly set of man-made events destroying our country in the history of our nation. Now, if you go back and look at previous riots and the damage done then, you have to convert it into 2020 dollars. So back in 1992 with the Rodney King riots, at that time, it cost $775 million. Now, that's about $1.42 billion today, still less than what's happening right now. Go back to the turbulent 1960s, and the total is a little shy of $1.2 billion, which means that the groups committing this damage today caused more mayhem and property damage in a little over a week than they did throughout the entire 1960s. And yet, the damage still continues. When this is all said and done, folks, America is going to be in a very bad position financially, and these people know exactly what they're doing. And I said in the intro that this might bankrupt insurance companies, and it very well could. Just imagine how difficult it's going to be for business owners to get property insurance in the future. I certainly hope that nothing like this is ever allowed to happen again. And finally, on screen here is a Michigan Democrat who was recently endorsed by Joe Biden. Now, he maintained a particularly disturbing blog online in which he blogged about 4-year-old girls wearing thong underwear. And since Joe Biden is a baby sniffer himself, it really is not that big of a stretch to understand why he chose to endorse him. John Hoadley, he is a state lawmaker. He's now running for Congress in Michigan's 6th District, and he's also endorsed by Kamala Harris. The seat is currently occupied by a Republican, and it looks like this creep right here is trying to flip it blue. Hoadley is an openly gay man who describes himself as a very progressive Democrat, and he previously blogged about meth use and prepubescent girls wearing thong underwear. Now, the New York Post initially reported on this, and he's something of a rising star in the Democratic Party. Now, the blog where these disturbing posts were initially published has been deleted, but that's not the worst of it. He made derogatory comments about women in addition to those posts about drug use and the creepy remarks about children's underwear. underwear. Now, before he was elected to state politics in 2014, he ran this LiveJournal blog where he discussed about learning about crystal meth, describing his sexual partners as victims, and published a conversation which included that reference to 4-year-old girls and underwear. The blog was named Rambling Politics, and it was just deleted last week on the eve of Michigan's Democratic primary. But of course, the internet's forever, and you can still find it. In a post from May 2005, the state rep discussed going to a gay bar to learn about crystal meth, and in a post several weeks later described his sexual partners as victims. In a subsequent post, Hoadley referred to women as breeders, a derogatory term used to refer to straight people or people who can have children, and called them weird bad dancers. In one of the earliest entries from 2004, this is where he shared a conversation with a friend about being a flower girl at a friend's wedding and included a reference to a 4-year-old wearing a thong. These are the kinds of people that the Democratic Party are attempting to push on the American public. This is who they want in office, and these are the types of individuals that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are looking to endorse in order to push their radical left-wing agenda. We must not let this happen. If you are a Michigan resident and you live in the 6th Congressional District, please make sure you vote and do not allow this man to get into office. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am Zak the Corruption Detector, and this was another edition of Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, one more thing. I just want to thank everyone for watching today. If you have not subscribed yet, I urge you to please consider subscribing. There will be a couple of videos that pop up if you want to continue to watch. There's also some ways in the description of this video that you can follow me on other platforms. Please consider doing that as well. And if you want to support the program directly, there are means to do that below as well. Thank you all for your support over the last couple of years. Consider liking and sharing this video and help me get the real news to people who don't yet know they've been lied to.